You're looking for a guitar that you can actually live with day to day, something that feels reliable when you're jamming at home, decent enough for a small gig, and doesn't leave a hole in your wallet. The problem is that the acoustic-electric market is flooded with flashy specs and glossy marketing, and it's easy to end up with an instrument that sounds great on paper but feels like a compromise when you plug it into a PA or just strum it on the couch. I've spent the last few weeks playing a few guitars in the same price range, watching how they handle everything from bedroom practice to a low-key open mic, and I've also dug through a lot of owner comments and forum threads to see where people actually get stuck. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Yamaha AC5R, our concert cutaway, vintage natural. At first glance it ticks the boxes you expect from a mid-range acoustic electric, a solid Sitka spruce top, rosewood back and sides, and Yamaha's SRT2 pickup system that promises a vintage tone when you go live. But the real question is whether those ingredients translate into a guitar that fits into the everyday rhythms of a working musician, a hobbyist who records at home, or a gigging singer-songwriter who needs to move quickly from stage to stage. Who should consider this guitar? If you're a player who wants the classic acoustic vibe but also needs a reliable onboard pickup that won't scream cheapo through a sound system, the AC5R is worth a look. It's especially appealing for folks who are comfortable with a concert-size body, meaning a slightly narrower waist than a dreadnought but still enough depth for a resonant low end. That shape makes it easier to hold while standing, which is a plus for live performers who can't afford to wrestle a bulky instrument on stage. The mahogany neck adds a little warmth to the attack, and the cutaway gives you access to higher frets without sacrificing the instrument's overall balance. If you're recording at home and need a clean, balanced signal straight into your DAW, the SRT2's blend of a piezo pickup and a built-in preamp with EQ knobs lets you dial in a fairly natural acoustic tone without having to mic the guitar. Who might want to skip it? If you're after a full-size dreadnought with a booming bass response for bluegrass flat picking, the concert body will feel a bit tight. Likewise, if you're a player who prefers a purely acoustic experience, someone who never plugs in or who uses an external mic for every performance, the built-in electronics could feel unnecessary, and you might be better off with a plain acoustic that saves a few dollars. Finally, if you're a serious touring professional who relies on a specific pickup brand or a custom preamp, the SRT2, while solid, isn't as customizable as a Fishman or LR bag system, and you may end up swapping the electronics later. Let's get into the practical strengths. The first thing I noticed after unboxing was the resonance of the solid Sitka spruce top. Even without plugging it in, the guitar rings clearly, and the mid-range response is surprisingly open for a concert-size body. When you strike a chord and let it ring, the rosewood back and sides give a subtle sparkle that you'd normally associate with a higher-priced instrument. That tonal quality holds up when you step on a stage and engage the SRT2. The pickup captures the nuance of the wood fairly well, especially once you adjust the built-in EQ. The vintage switch on the preamp adds a mild compression that can tame the harshness you sometimes get from piezo systems, giving you a smoother, more mic'd sound without needing external gear. Another real-world win is the ease of setup. Yamaha ships the AC5R with a factory-installed bridge and saddle that sit relatively low, which means you don't have to spend a weekend fine-tuning intonation unless you have a very specific setup in mind. The neck feels stable thanks to the mahogany core and a smooth satin finish that doesn't get sticky after a long jam session. The cutaway is generous enough that I could comfortably play the 22nd fret without feeling cramped, something that matters if you incorporate lead lines or melodic runs into your acoustic set. Now for the practical weaknesses, which are the little things that can become annoyances over time. The first is the weight. At about 4.7 pounds, the AC5R is not the lightest concert guitar out there, and when you add a strap, a tuner, and a couple of pedals for live use, it starts to feel noticeable during an hour-long set. If you have a job that requires you to lug the guitar around a lot, say, a traveling teacher or a street performer, this might become a fatigue factor. The second point is the SRT2's EQ range. It offers a 3-band EQ, which is standard, but you'll find the treble knob a bit aggressive. Cranking it up for extra brightness can quickly lead to a thin, harsh sound that doesn't reflect the natural warmth of the spruce.